Hi there, I'm Simon Austin Beckett. This is Winston. I am a training dog behaviourist, and today we're going to be talking about the importance of walking your dog. I'm not running out of material. I appreciate that that's a statement that probably seems relatively obvious and has a relatively obvious reply. However, whilst some of the reasons we walk our dogs and the benefits of why we walk our dogs is obvious, there are many other layers to it that we should be aware of, and things that can then help us improve the quality of the types of walks that we go on. So walking the dog is often seen as a means to an end. Tick the box, dog's been walked, everybody's happy, off we go, and then we get the added benefit of the dog is generally calmer after a walk, more relaxed, leaves us alone so we can get on with our day, and the dog, like Winston, for example, if he's had a good walk, he will pretty much do this for several hours. So it's sort of a yin and yang. Dog gets walked, everyone's happy, and they do need it, for that physical outlet. So the physical exhaustion of a walk is superb for our dogs, and it helps them alleviate a lot of those stresses and tensions they get when they have excess energy, like any creature does, like we do. But the psychological benefits of a walk are equally, if not, especially when looking at behavioural challenges, more important than purely considering the physical benefits of the walk. So as I say, it's no secret that dogs are calmer after a walk, and yes, that is a result of them physically, physical exhaustion, muscular exhaustion, etc. But also the psychological and the stimulation that the dog gets to the brain, and all the senses that are connected to the brain, helps with that wearing down and that sort of exhaustion that comes with it. And you can actually, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, with all the different games and toys and things you can play with your dogs, you can exhaust your dog equally by simply giving them something to think about, or something that you really utilizes their senses. So you get very rarely a better opportunity to do that than when you're out on a walk with your dogs. So they're calmer, they're more obedient to us, they're easier to train, they're more inclined to listen. All of that pent up energy and overexcitement makes it very difficult for dogs to concentrate. So the worst thing you can really do if you're trying to train your dog to do something is to do it at a time when your dog has gone day, 2 days, several days without a walk, because at that point there's so many sort of sensory overloads going on, and so much pent up energy and excitement, that your dog will find it very difficult to actually concentrate and listen to what it is that you're asking them to do. And it's so much more. It's so much more than this. A walk provides the dogs the opportunity to stimulate what is their most important sense, which is their sense of smell. Dogs essentially see the world through their nose, and the sense stimulations and the sense that they get whilst out on a walk can be incredibly varied, or, as I say, to the point that I'm trying to come to here, improving the quality walk, they should be very, you should try and vary the sensory stimulation, certainly the sense of smell that your dog comes across when they're out on their walk. So one of the key mistakes that we as owners sometimes make too is that we forget what our dogs actually are sometimes, and how their fundamental, their instinctive needs don't fall completely in step with their own. What we are guilty of is something called anthropomorphism. So what that is essentially assuming human-like qualities on our dogs and on their emotions that makes it easy for us, and that's the reason we often do it, is it makes it easier for us to understand their behaviour. But we need to remember every day one very important thing: our dogs are dogs. They are not people. And unfortunately, where we anthropomorphise what dogs are and what they are, we make excuses for them sometimes as to why certain things are not important. For example, if we're looking outside and we think, it's a bit grey out there and it's a bit miserable, and Winston doesn't need a walk today. You don't want a walk today, do you, Winston? Well, actually, maybe he doesn't. We make the excuse of, the dog's, it looks horrible to me. The dog is going to feel like I feel, so I'm not going to go out there as well. Your dog is not going to be thinking that at all. Your dog, you could walk out there, I'm sure many people would say, in the pouring rain, the lashing rain, and your dog would still be very happy about it. What do? We make the excuse, no, we'll sit in. Dogs love watching telly. My dog sits there watching telly, etc., etc. Let's sit down, let's watch the Tiger King. If you haven't seen that, you have to go see it. And then we make that excuse for them. We anthropomorphise their attitudes and their emotions, and it makes us feel better about the things that we actually want to do. And whilst we, and we do that, we think, well, we're comfortable, we're happy, we get a lot of stimulation in our own homes. We watch the telly, we think that's good. We think the dog's sitting there with us in our company, they're going to get the same sort of satisfaction. They do not. We, as human beings, and the senses that we have, we can find a lot of sensory stimulation from a very sedentary position. We use, as I mentioned, sight as our primary sensory inlet. So we sitting there watching the telly, we get all of that sort of stimulation that we could possibly need to keep our brains active, to keep ourselves, you watch a good film, 2-hour film that's got all sorts of sights and visuals and sounds, and you can almost feel exhausted by the end of it. And, you pour a glass of wine or 2 or 3, that's how we can fulfill our sensory needs. Your dog is not going to get sensory satisfaction from sitting there watching the telly with you, regardless of how often he may sort of look up and and get some sort of interest in the telly. It does not. It's nowhere near a replacement for the benefits of a bloody good walk. And then, of course, around the home, lots of people think that just by having the dog in the house, and having toys and things around, yes, that helps. It does help, but the house still provides a relatively poor quality sensory environment for our dogs. There's just not enough variation from day to day, and it doesn't fulfill their biological needs. It doesn't fulfill their instinctive needs. The things that we mentioned in previous videos, their prey drives, the running, the chasing, the sniffing, the marking, all of those things. You can repeat it, and you can almost feign it indoors, but it's never as good as the real thing. It's never as good as a good old walk out there. And the problem is that if these are met, if these prey drives, as I've mentioned before, are not met in a way that they should be, you'll get the behaviours that you don't want. Herding dogs, border collies, are well known for, if they don't have a lot of physical, mental stimulation, for being relatively destructive, and they can be little sods. And as a herding breed, they are known to then start manifesting that in herding people. There's cases of where young children have been sort of coming to houses with border collies, and the dog sort of herds them around and nips at their heels like they would with a sheep, because it's in them, and they're not getting that stimulation that a good walk and a frisbee chuck, or sniff around in the undergrowth things. He doesn't get that. You get that with all other dogs, and this all comes back from those those instinctive drives that they picked up from the when they diversified from the line of the wolves. And then what does it do? It causes all sorts of problems for us. Scent hounds, another example of a type of breed that if you don't fulfill a scent hound's ability to smell, you'll go digging in gardens. Sight hounds, things like whippets, you'll see them running in tight circles trying to burn off that energy, or chase birds that fly over in the garden and stuff. It's all that I need to utilize these urges that I'm getting, so I will do it in this way. The problem is those ways are often not only destructive, sometimes they can actually be dangerous, right? The nipping, as I mentioned, with border collies or with dogs running around in tight circles, if they suddenly run into something or onto something or into someone, all of that tension and boredom, and it can manifest in a behaviour that is not just frustrating, it can also be dangerous to both the dog and to us. Okay, so a regular walk-in schedule. What does it do? It helps to alleviate the vast majority of these issues, right? If your dog is out there doing all of those things, you don't mind if the dog's in the field running around in tight circles. You don't mind if a border collie is, trying to herd around you as you're throwing balls and frisbees and things like that. It's an environment that's much safer, it's much less clinical for the dog, and it helps them not just, just expel their energy and stuff, but we get a lot of enjoyment from walking our dogs as well too, right? It increases as well. A good walk, and this is shown in books after books after books. It increases the level of serotonin that they have in their brain. Serotonin is the feel-good hormone that we release when we're in a particularly good mood. When dogs are on walks, when they're sniffing and they're utilising all these these senses and these abilities, serotonin is pumping through the body, giving them a really good feeling, which in itself is something that helps alleviate all of those tensions. And then when they get home, they're done, and that's really what we want our dogs to do, and that's where they get their pleasure from, right? and it relieves the stress, the anxiety, and then the negative behaviours that anxiety and stress have as a knock-on effect of that. So hugely beneficial. So some examples of some good types of walks. So obviously there is the walk, but vary up the types of walks that you do. Vary up the places that you go when you do your walks if you can. Dogs are very good at learning routine, and if you do the same walk day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out, whilst there is still benefits to it, and you can never knock a walk versus no walk at all, variation and stimulation that you would get by changing things up a bit would be far more beneficial to your dog than simply keeping the same routine. Problem with the same routine as well is once your dog gets that routine, any variations in that routine, on that routine, if your dog's particularly nervous or anxious, may throw them a little bit. So you want to vary it up, and you want to keep them on their toes so that they realise that things change all the time. Things aren't always consistent, and then their behaviour should mean that they're a bit more rugged when it comes to changes in their environment, whatever that might be. New people, new dogs, new smells. And on the smells, one thing that's really good to do is scent walks. So a scent walk is basically you walking at a nice leisurely pace with your dog, preferably off lead, but appreciate that not all dogs can be walked off lead. But if you can, let your dog off, go for a walk. Don't rush the walk with them. Let them, sniff in the undergrowth, sniff around and stuff, and really draw in the environment that they're in. If you are walking your dog on the lead and you want to do a scent walk, don't yank your dog away. In fact, never yank your dog away from a smell. You encourage them with your voice and positive, always positive, but don't pull them away from smells. Dogs smelling something in a bush or a lamppost and stuff, whilst to us as human beings, visual as we are, we find it sometimes a little bit like, oh God, what is that pile of something you're sniffing there? Whilst to us it's a little bit disturbing, for a dog it's like they're reading the news. It's like catching up on the local gossip. That's what dogs do. They leave their scents out for other dogs to find, and they find it interesting. It's interesting to their minds and their brains as well. So if your dog has found a smell and is enjoying, let the dog enjoy the smell. But if, I appreciate Winston sometimes can spend several minutes at one spot. Encourage them along, keep the voice nice and happy and, in a positive tone. Bring them, bring them along for the walk with you. But scent walks are great. Just at a nice pace, just let the dog enjoy the speed of the walk, and dictate the speed of the walk for you, and just let them enjoy, all of those different sights and smells they have. Other thing that's good for dogs, and this is more to the physical side of things, swimming. Now, not all dogs are great for swimming. Brachycephalic breeds, so the ones with the squash noses like pugs, bulldogs, things like that. Be careful with those, because whilst there are animals and individuals within those breeds that can swim and will happily swim, because of the way that their breathing and everything is, that sometimes it's a trickier thing for them. So you need to be careful and keep a very close eye on those sorts of dogs when they are swimming. But swimming in 10 or 15 minutes will burn the same level of calories as an hour's walk. It's a really good thing for dogs to do. It's very good for their joints, good for elderly dogs as well. Obviously not doing too overly exerting them while swimming, because it obviously supports their weight. Don't do it for too long. Don't go and do sort of 4 or 5 hours swimming a day, because your dog will just be absolutely exhausted. But if you can incorporate swimming in, lakes or streams or whatever it might be on your walks, it's a really good thing to do. Very good physically for dogs as well. So just keep that one in mind. And then also towns. I know obviously when we always think about walking the dog, we think, we need to go to a nice big open green space and a green area and let them sort of, go back to nature as it was. And whilst they're great, of course, take dogs to towns. Towns and, cities where, you always got to be careful of things like traffic and always have your wits about you. The towns and walking around towns with people and and all those different changes in the environment and noises and things, it's really good for dogs, for their confidence. It helps to desensitize them. If you have a dog that's particularly anxious, or a dog that's particularly fearful of other people, I'm not sitting here saying just go and walk around town, because that could cause more problems than it would ever solve. But slow introduction into those environments of more people, mixing with more people, walking around town environments. There's different smells that they get out in the out in the countryside. Winston loves walking around the town. It's because usually we end up in a pub, which he loves as well. I've convinced him. There's me anthropomorphizing that Winston loves pubs because I love pubs. we're going to go with that one because that was fine. But towns and cities as well. On occasion, definitely get your dogs out to those. Walk around them. Let people come up to your dogs and provide. And again, you know your dog better than I know your dog. But if your dog's that sort of dog, let people interact with your dog. It will help desensitize them, get them used to other people, other smells, other sights. Other dogs are in towns as well. Different, it's all very good behavioural learning. So scent walks, swimming, and towns. If you well, we can go back to towns, as we know, currently in a lockdown 2020, if this video is now being watched in the future. Vary up your walks. Get as many different types of walks in as you can. And now I'm going to come to really what I would say is the major footnote to this whole discussion. And as I opened this video with, walking's good for your dog, duh. There's a really massive part of this that's really, really important for our dogs, and that is walks provide incredible socialization opportunities. Socialization and socializing your dog is, and it will be one thing that I will advocate for the rest of my days, is critical. Absolutely critical that your dog is socialized, and you find as many opportunities to be able to do that for your dog as you can. Some may argue, on the flip side of this, and I always like to give both points, you actually could quite happily socialise your dog by not being outside. Having people around, having people in your environment, in your home, provides all of that socialisation opportunities that you would get going out for a walk and randomly bumping into each other. That's not incorrect. However, socialisation at home, you have to remember that the variation of the environment isn't there. So your dog becomes accustomed to the environment that they are being socialised in. It's very important that dogs are socialised in all environments, because all that happens is your dog becomes very socially adept and adapted in a home environment. The second you go out and you take them to a pub or whatever you do, they're not used to that environment as a socialization environment, and therefore they don't, we think, a dog wants to socialize. If it's happy here, it's happy everywhere. Some dogs are like that. Not all dogs are. Most dogs actually are very contextual, in the sense of you could ask a dog to do something in one room, move them into another room, ask them to do the same thing, and they don't connect the dots. Same with socialization. So socialization at home is fine, but it's also very clinical. It's very dictated by us. Often, if we know our dogs aren't happy around certain types of people or with certain animals, we won't let them in. So almost socialisation at home becomes too clinical, and it's too structured and too dictated. Social walks provide variation, unpredictability, and the earlier you can do that with your dog, in terms of age, or certainly in terms of when you've collected that dog, the better it is that early. And you'll have knockbacks at the beginning. All dogs are a bit squirmy. Winston, on occasion, didn't you, Winston? You get a bit funny sometimes. If dogs are sitting when we're out on a walk, he does not quite know what to do with it. But over time, we're incorporating that into his walks, and making sure that he's adapting to that as well. And as time goes on, that socialization around that weird thing for him will start to improve, I hope. So in a nutshell, there really is very little competition when it comes to the variety, the unpredictability, the excitement, and ultimately the stimulation and socialization. A good walk, a good daily walk, preferably keep the dogs on their toes, will have, not just for your dog, and I know we've spoken an awful lot here about the benefits to the dog, and that's obviously the main purpose of this, but the benefits to us as well. Dogs that are happy and socialized and relaxed mean that we are happy and relaxed. So don't ever underestimate the importance of a good walk. Cheesy finish there. Okay, I'm going to stop now. Just clock the time again. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I appreciate it. I'm probably getting more and more passionate about these, which is making them longer and longer. So I'm sure you've probably skipped for a few minutes. How to get in contact with us. So I have a website coming up over here somewhere, dogsgowoof.co.uk. Facebook, very active there, as I've mentioned. Facebook is Dogs Go Woof UK. And then me and Winston, we have a bit more of a personal lifey thing going on, which you are more than welcome to come and see too. We're on Instagram, is _Simon Winston _, and there is also an Instagram, Winstongram, that's good, for Dogs Go Woof, which is _Dogs Go Woof _. Thank you very much for sticking with me. I look forward to doing another one of these very soon. Winston, say goodbye. Needs a walk. I'm going for a walk. See you later. Cheers.